The dog breed you chose is one of the most revealing psychological decisions you will ever make. And most people make it without realizing it is a decision about themselves at all. Researchers studying personality and consumer choice have found that breed selection maps onto owner identity more reliably than almost any other pet-related variable. Your breed did not just fit your lifestyle. It fit your self-concept. If you want to understand what your dog is really telling you, think about the last time someone told you what dog they had. Before they showed you a photo, an image appeared in your mind, not just of the dog, but of the owner. The golden retriever family with the minivan, the Frenchie owner who lives alone in a city apartment and works in tech, the husky person who says they love the outdoors but mostly loves the idea of loving the outdoors. We all know these archetypes. We deploy them casually in the way we talk about someone's taste in music or cars. And here's the thing, we are not entirely wrong. The stereotypes have enough signal in them that researchers study them seriously. Samuel Gosling at the University of Texas has built a career around the relationship between personality and preference, including what we choose to bring into our homes. The breed stereotype exists because something real is underneath it. The person tends to fit the dog. Or more accurately, the person tends to choose the dog that fits the person they already are, or the person they are trying to become. That distinction matters enormously, and we are going to spend the rest of this video unpacking it. Here is the meta-psychology pivot that makes breed choice so interesting. You made the decision before you had full information. You fell in love with a breed, its look, its energy, its cultural associations, and then you built a rational story to explain why it was a practical choice. Active lifestyle, good with kids, easy to train. But the rational story came second. Psychologists call this motivated reasoning, constructing logic to justify a conclusion we have already emotionally reached. And the emotional conclusion in breed selection is almost always about identity. The dog you wanted was the dog that matched who you already believed yourself to be, or who you aspired to be. Samuel Gosling's work on personality and pet ownership, published in Anthrozois in 2010, found that dog owners as a group score higher in extroversion and conscientiousness than non-owners. But within dog owners, the differences between breed preference groups mirror the big five personality dimensions in remarkably specific ways. Dog people do not just like dogs. Specific dog people like specific dogs for specific psychological reasons that track back to their own personality architecture. The breed was never really about the dog. Number 1. The big five personality dimensions: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Predict breed preference groups with enough statistical reliability to be academically interesting. Gosling's team found that people who prefer herding breeds like Border Collies and Australian Shepherds score higher in conscientiousness and openness than those who prefer companion breeds. People who prefer hound breeds tend to score higher in agreeableness. Those who gravitate toward guarding breeds, German Shepherds, Dobermans, tend to score higher in need for control and lower in agreeableness. None of this means your personality caused you to choose your dog. But it does mean that your breed preference is a data point, one of many, that reveals how you organize your internal world. If you are drawn to a breed that is challenging, independent, and requires intensive mental engagement, that tells us something about how you relate to complexity. If you are drawn to a breed that is soft, biddable, and constantly oriented toward your face, that tells us something else. The breed is a mirror. What you find appealing in the dog is usually something you value in yourself, or something you feel you lack. Number 2. There is a phenomenon researchers in human-animal interaction call the mirror effect. The consistent finding that owners and their dogs share measurable personality traits. Not because dogs absorb the owner's personality over time, though some of that does happen, but because owners unconsciously select for the traits they already possess. A 2010 study in the journal Anthrozois found that owner and dog personality ratings correlated significantly across all 5 dimensions. And crucially, the effect was strongest for long-term owners, which suggests the relationship reinforces existing tendencies rather than creating new ones. You chose a dog that confirmed what you already believed about yourself. This is not vanity. It is identity coherence. The same psychological drive that makes you choose friends who share your values, neighborhoods that match your self-image, and careers that feel like expressions of who you are. The dog is just unusually transparent about it. When you meet someone's dog, and you suddenly understand the owner better, you are not projecting. You are reading a signal the owner broadcast, probably without knowing it. The dog is not a pet. The dog is a walking self-portrait. If that just made you see your relationship with your pet in a completely different way, hit subscribe. We explore the science of the human-pet bond every week and what it reveals about us. Number 3. Breed choice is not just an internal identity signal, it is a social one. The dog you walk down the street is a broadcast. Other people read it. You know they read it because you read theirs. Consumer psychologists have long studied the concept of product as identity badge, the car you drive, the neighborhood you live in, the coffee brand on your desk. Dogs fit into this framework in a uniquely powerful way because they are living, moving, emotionally engaging signals. The research on conspicuous pet ownership, though less developed than conspicuous consumption research, consistently finds that owners are aware their dog communicates something about them, and that awareness influences the selection process. The outdoor adventure brand owner who chooses a Vizsla is doing something the tech founder with a standard poodle is also doing, performing an identity for an audience that includes themselves. Neither owner would describe it that way, but when you ask them why they chose that specific breed, listen for how quickly the answer becomes about the kind of person they are, not the kind of dog it is. The grammar of breed choice is almost always first person. My breed, my lifestyle, my values. The dog is the sentence. The owner is the subject. Number 4. Not all breed choices are an expression of who you already are. Some are an expression of who you wish you were, and the research on this is fascinating and a little uncomfortable. Psychologists call this compensatory consumption, choosing products or symbols that represent the self you aspire to rather than the self you currently inhabit. The person who feels socially anxious buys the high-status breed. The person who feels physically unimpressive chooses the large, powerful dog. The person who craves adventure but works a sedentary office job adopts the high-energy working breed and then struggles with the reality of it. This is not a pathology. It is a completely normal feature of human identity construction. We reach toward the version of ourselves we want to become. The problem arises when the compensatory dog, the dog that represents the aspirational self, is poorly matched to the actual daily life of the real self. A border collie in a studio apartment. A Siberian husky with a first-time owner who loves the idea of a wolf but has never experienced 90 minutes of daily exercise as a non-negotiable requirement. The aspiration is healthy. The mismatch is where both owner and dog pay the cost. Number 5. Your attachment style, the emotional blueprint you developed in early childhood for how close relationships work, shows up in your breed preference in ways that are subtle but consistent. Researchers studying the human-dog bond have found that anxious attachment owners tend to prefer breeds that are highly people-oriented, Velcro-style dogs who follow them from room to room and make sustained eye contact. Breeds like Vizslas, Weimaraners, and Golden Retrievers. The dog's constant proximity confirms that the relationship is intact. Avoidant attachment owners, by contrast, tend to prefer more independent breeds, dogs that are emotionally warm but not demanding, who are comfortable alone and do not require constant reassurance. The dog's self-sufficiency feels like respect rather than distance. Securely attached owners show the widest spread in breed preference because their choice is more genuinely driven by practical lifestyle fit. They do not need the dog to confirm the relationship is safe. They already know it is. This does not make any attachment style wrong. It makes every breed choice legible if you know what you're looking for. The question is not just what breed did I choose. The question is what emotional need did I expect that breed to meet? And is the dog actually able to meet it? Number 6. The most telling moment in breed choice is not the moment you decided. It is the moment, weeks or months into ownership, when the actual dog met the imagined dog and lost. Every breed choice contains an implicit life narrative. You imagined a version of your daily life when you chose the breed, and the clarity of that vision, how specific it was, how emotionally compelling, tells us more about your psychology than the breed itself does. The gap between the imagined life and the actual life is where owner psychology becomes most visible. The owner who imagined weekend hikes with a Rhodesian Ridgeback and is now taking the dog on short evening walks in the rain is not a bad owner. They are someone whose self-image was running ahead of their actual circumstances, which is a completely human thing to do. What matters now is what you do with that gap. Owners who acknowledge it tend to adapt, invest in training, and develop a real relationship with the actual dog in front of them, not the dog they imagined. Owners who cannot acknowledge it sometimes project their frustration onto the dog, labeling the dog difficult or stubborn, when what they mean is that the dog did not perform the role they had scripted for it. The dog is not the author of that script. You are. Recognizing that is the beginning of an honest relationship. So what do you do with all of this? You already chose the breed. The dog is already home. This is not information that changes the decision. It is information that changes the relationship. If your breed choice was an expression of your actual personality, that is useful to know because it tells you what the dog needs from you, and it is probably already well aligned. Your energy, your temperament, your lifestyle, the dog is more likely to be a good match for who you actually are. If your breed choice was compensatory, if you chose the aspirational dog rather than the real-life compatible dog, that gap is not a failure. It is an invitation. Not to return the dog, but to close the distance between the person you imagined and the person you are actually being with this animal every day. The dog does not care about the aspiration. The dog cares about Tuesday morning. What happens when you are tired, when work was hard, when the walk feels like a chore? And if you see your attachment style in the way you chose your breed, if you recognize the anxious reach for a Velcro dog or the avoided preference for the independent one, that awareness is genuinely valuable. Not as a verdict, but as a starting point. You did not choose your attachment style. You did develop it for reasons that made sense at the time, and your dog is now a daily opportunity to practice something slightly different. You did not just choose a dog. You chose a self-concept, a social signal, an emotional blueprint made visible and walkable. The breed in your home is a record of who you were or who you wanted to be the day you made that choice. And the remarkable thing is that the dog does not know any of this. The dog is not performing the breed archetype for your benefit. The dog is just being itself, patient, present, and remarkably unconcerned with the identity project you inadvertently built around it. That is the gift in this. The dog that was supposed to confirm the person you wanted to be is quietly, persistently, inviting you to just be the person you actually are. Most of them are still waiting, and the invitation is still open. Thank you for investing your time with us today. Now that you know your dog breed choice reveals your personality, attachment style, and the self you were reaching toward when you made it, we are curious. What breed did you choose? And looking back, what does that say about who you were at the time? Let us know in the comments. New episodes drop every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, so make sure you are subscribed to catch the next one. Until then, decode your dog, decode yourself.